welcome in for episode 2. I am so excited because if you guys are watching this on YouTube, we can't see each other, but you can see my face, which is so cool because I have some things that I want to show you over the next couple episodes. But if you are listening to this podcast through your podcast app, just know that there'll be links and references that will be available on my website under episode number 2. So let's jump into it. Today, we are going to talk about something that I recently experienced and that I'm super passionate about right now because of what just happened to me. Now, if you are watching on YouTube, you're going to see me look down because I have my handy dandy trusty notebook right here that has all my thoughts about all this stuff because, like I mentioned, I just recently went through this. So today's topic is, how do I stay protected from being hacked? So I was affected, many, many years ago by a massive company that got their database hacked. And it's just something that I have been dealing with. Didn't really see any repercussions from it. However, like anything bad that happens, it rears its ugly head when you're not even thinking about it. So recently we had the unemployment database was hacked. And so actually the database wasn't hacked. Well, I don't know what was hacked. Anyways, bottom line, they used my information to open up an unemployment claim against the unemployment department, like filing for resources, filing for money, saying that they had lost their job, that they needed money, and they used my social security number and my date of birth. So you can imagine how frustrating that was when I saw this thing pop up in my email and I'm like, wait a second, what is this? So I go to unemployment and it says, you've filed an unemployment claim, we'll get your money sent over to you right away. And I was like, hey, wait a second, what is this? So I go in, many phone calls, my temper, I lost it a couple times because of course everybody else was trying to get in to report that their information had been used, as well as other people also just reporting that they were unemployed because of everything that happened with coronavirus, which of course is still going on right now. And so what happened was I thought we had fixed everything and I was like, okay, it's been flagged by security. We're good to go. We've updated the password. We've updated the email address, which of course was someone else's email address, which I had no idea who it was. So we got all that stuff taken care of. So then on a Sunday night about 8:00, I normally don't check my email this late, but I did. And I noticed that someone had done a password reset on my unemployment account. And I was like, oh, heck no. So again, of course, it's Sunday, so you can't do anything. So I wait till Monday morning. Again, many phone calls because, of course, you can't get through right away because everybody's filing everything. It was a nightmare. So we finally got it under control I want to say it was probably 3 months later. And here's the most important thing. Here's how this whole thing could have been prevented. It could have been set up with dual authentication. And for those of you that don't know, basically what that means is you can do it through an authenticator app. So basically when you log into a website, it will pop up with a code that links whatever you're trying to sign into. For example, like I'm trying to sign into my email. So I go to this authenticator app, it gives me a code, then I plug that code into my email sign-in screen, and then it lets me get in and, everything's like normal. So the benefit of that is that if anybody tries to log into my email, they can't without the code. The other way that you can do it too, which for a lot of my things I do, is through text message. So when you log into something, they send you a text message, and then of course you fill in the code and you're off and running. Now, for a lot of people, this can be kind of annoying because you're like, oh, I don't want to set up dual authentication into something that I get into every day because it takes so much time. I just don't want to deal with it. Whatever that excuse is, today's your day. You've got to stop that as an excuse. And that's what today's call to action is to set up dual authentication on everything. Now, I am talking about not only your banking information, I'm talking about your PayPal, I'm talking about anything that you use online. And here's the most important one, which is something that I discovered just randomly, but I'm going to share it with you because I think it's so important. So what you have to do is go to whoever your cell phone carrier is. Now, mine is Verizon, and I want to make sure that I get this right. So it is called a number lock. Now, I'm not sure if other carriers will call it something different, but basically what it does is it does not allow someone to transfer your phone number unauthorized. Now, I know this is a bit of a rabbit hole. You're like, say what? Somebody could transfer my phone number without my knowledge? Yes, it can happen. So what you do is basically, it's just a toggle. You just switch the toggle over that says, no one is allowed to transfer my phone number or anything, because think about it. You do all this work. You set up dual authentication. You use the Authenticator app, whichever way you go, but guess where it goes? Your cell phone. So if someone steals your cell phone number or ports it to a different phone, they now have access to everything. So everything that you have done, all that time and energy that you've put up into dual authentication and the Authenticator app, it's worthless because now they have all your stuff. Now, I do know of someone personally that this happened to, and frankly, it totally freaked me out. So when I was talking with her about what had happened to me and everything that went down, she was like, oh my gosh, make sure that you turn on the number lock. Now, my carrier is Verizon, so if you have that, you can probably search it if you're a Verizon user too. But basically, it's on the same screen as a dual authentication screen. So you turn on the dual authentication, then you scroll down a little bit, and then it says number lock. So if you're a Verizon user, check that out. If not, I'm sure you can figure it out on what, if you have a different carrier. I'm sure everybody has it just because this is such a huge commonplace thing. So that is number one, dual authentication on everything. No ifs, ands, or buts. Today's the day. I also have a resource too with links to everything, a checklist. So if you are like, oh, what was that one thing that Jill said? You can download my checklist on episode 2 from my website, heyjillian.com, and that will give you a step-by-step instructions of what you need to do to get yourself set up. Now, along those same lines with dual authentication or the text message using the Authenticator app, it's kind of the same thing, is you want to set up somewhere to use all your or to house all your passwords rather. And so what that means is every time you log into a website, there's a computer program. We use 1Password here at my business, and everyone uses it. And if you don't want to use it, then you don't get to work here. I mean, that's just how it is, because we take security really serious. Because the bottom line is we've had people try to get into our stuff. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. Is there probably another step that we could take? I'm sure there is. But like with anything, technology is evolving. So this is something that we want to stay on top of and make sure that we're keeping up on it. So by using 1Password, you can set up vaults and you can house everything. But here is why this is so important. There's a 1Password. That means if you lose that 1Password, you're toast. There is no remembering it. There is no, I forgot my password. None of that. And that's why it's so secure. That 1Password is not housed anywhere where anybody could get to. And what's even better for my team, Rachel has her own vault. Skylar has his own vault. Everybody can keep their own passwords within their vault. And what's even better from a business perspective is, let's say that we have an employee that leaves. We can instantly shut off their access, which means they don't have any access to those passwords that we're using. And the benefit of that is that they don't know the passwords. So they couldn't just get onto Gmail and enter in welcome1 as a password, because that's not the password. But also they access every single sign-on through their 1Password app. So this is like mind-blowing. When I first heard about it, I was like, say what? I can give out my access to people if they need access to our email or our Asana or any sort of software that we use, but I don't have to give them the password. Awesome. So awesome. Now, another layer of protection that we use too, especially when it comes to email, is we have that dual authentication on top of it. So not only are your employees accessing their vaults for the passwords, there's also a dual authentication set up on top of that. So that way, it's just one more layer of coverage. They sign on using their 1Password account, then it sends you a dual authentication notification with, typically it's a 6-digit number. They plug that number in and they're off and running. It is awesome. The amount of freedom that it gives you to share with people is just incredible. And it is honestly something that helps me sleep better at night, especially after what I went through. So, again, check out my resources. Make sure that you do this today. Make it a priority. If you need a little something extra to help you remember, definitely check out my call to action.